Hello, Jim Howard here. It is, well, just after midnight. It's May 25th now of 2023, and it's 10 minutes after midnight. I've been messing with the Windows 11 computer over there. I finally have got some, I can record some, what can I record it? Let's see. Anyway, I can hear audio coming out now. I had to switch things around a lot, but I'm not sure that I can save audio to a file along with the video. But I have made some progress, but oh God. So what's going on? This is a Windows 10 computer. This one over here is a Windows 11 computer. I'm thinking about hooking up my Chromebook to it and using the Chromebook. At least I'm sure I could get, audio and video together. I tell you. I'm happy with the Windows 10 setup. I haven't checked, well, I checked earlier to see if there is updates. Let's see. Might be for 11 because some stuff's going on or going to happen real quick. Right now I'm checking Windows 10. Check for updates. I don't think there will be for Windows 11. Okay, there isn't. Let's go over here. Go to settings. I know the solution over here is so simple to what, oops. How come it hasn't, system. See, rewards, 668 points. That's not what I want. I want to go down here, I guess. Go to settings. Thought I did that. Okay, what am I missing on settings? The rewards back up. System. Okay, Windows update 2 hours ago. Check for updates. Oh. When are they having the big Windows thing they're supposed to have? Apparently they're having some sort of smaller things. And then I guess it's coming up to, here in a few days, coming up to their big thing where they're going to announce a whole bunch of stuff. I guess most of it having to do with, what is it, AI? Yeah. Checking for updates. You're up to date. Okay. Cookies. Well, I'm going to CNN, but you can't see it. I do not want to hook Manicam back up because of course I've hooked it up and deleted it many times. I just don't want to do it anymore. Let's see, let's check CNN. Tina Turner dies at 83. The man at the insurrection and attempted, people that committed treason against the United States of America. The smart ass who went to Pelosi's office and put his feet on her desk, and I forget what else he did, something like that. He's been sentenced to over 4 years in prison. A Mississippi 11-year-old boy called 911 for help because his mother's, I think, an ex-boyfriend or something like this showed up, and she was frightened, and she asked her 11-year-old son to call 911. He called 911, and when the police showed up, a responding officer shot the 11-year-old boy. I don't know when this happened, but it must have happened a little bit, because he was shot in the chest, and they had to put a chest tube in and do other stuff, but they said he was released now, so it didn't happen within the last day or two. The diet that can lower bad cholesterol. I never cared for Jeopardy, the game Jeopardy. And of course I wouldn't do any good on anything like that at all. I can barely remember my own name. But you have to, you say it differently. What is something rather than you do it like backwards. I wouldn't appear on the show if I was good. If I was good at it, I'd say, no thanks. Just because of that stupidity, but it's been popular, big time. A nearly 50-year-old cold case in Canada was solved by DNA. Netflix, I got an email direct and I think another email from them. And then of course it's appeared else, Netflix is tired of people sharing their internet connection, sharing their Netflix, connection. And so they're taking steps. They're offering, I think, if you have somebody who, now you're allowed to share with your own household. And I don't know how they set it up. If you're like traveling, and like on an aircraft or whatever, and you want to use, you can. I don't know how they work that out. But if you have been sharing it with somebody, I think it's about $8, less than $8. Those people, they can sign up and get Netflix for $8. I don't even know what I pay. And I have had family, of course my grown son's here and my ex-wife is here, and I use it, and then a couple of our other kids used it occasionally for something they wanted to watch, and I think one of the times it was a series, but I don't even know how many of them, if any, are now using it. Looking at the Florida governor is a real asshole. Well, of course, he's a Republican. Texas governor's I don't know which one of them is the biggest asshole. I guess just Republican. You don't have to say asshole. Just Republican tells you that, Whole bunch about, let's see here. Russia denies fire at Ministry of Defense. Oh my God. Apparently, I don't know how much, apparently some of the stuff that's going on inside Russia is by Russians who don't like what Putin has been doing and whatever. Of course, Russia is blaming, the Ukraine for attacks or something. The U.S. intelligence agency indicates the Ukrainians may have launched that drone attack that was on the Kremlin, according to CNN. That doesn't mean, that a new video shows NASA's rover stunning view into a Mars crater. I guess all the rest of this is advertisements for CNN. I don't understand. Of course, I don't know what their finances are and that kind of stuff, but CNN has just too much advertising. I mean, they're supposed to be like news media, that kind of stuff, and it just seems like they have way too much advertising that sometimes it's kind of, they would say, oh no, we have it labeled and stuff, but it definitely should not be hard for people to understand that, stuff is advertising mixed in with the news. They'd say not mixed in, they'd say down below or something, but I wonder if there's some way. Now I just need to fix it. Trying to figure, could I bring in a cable, HDMI cable, pull up the screen here on this other computer, and no, keep it simple. No. Let's see, let's go to YouTube. Here's YouTube, KSLA News 12, wherever that is. A Texas teen accused of killing family told police they were cannibals. See, 15 top-notch new releases that are on Prime, with Prime. New releases, Amazon Prime. So I do get that. A guy by Flick Connection, Flick. I like his videos that he puts out about the new stuff that's available and stuff. Let's see, House erupts in laughter as Marjorie Taylor Greene accidentally, what did she accidentally do? Accidentally humiliates herself. Well, I mean, everything she says is lies. Everything she says is stupidity. And the Republican House Speaker, in order to get elected the House Speaker, he had to make a deal with some hardcore Trump supporters and bring them into like his key people. I mean, she is just unbelievably stupid, unbelievably arrogant. Have to be careful what you say, because if you say the wrong thing, then it's going to be, well, you're attacking a woman, you know. I think it took 95 votes for the House Republicans to pick their Speaker of the House. And that's unheard of. I mean, usually it's taken care of, you know, the Republicans all agree, or the Democrats, whoever is in the majority, you know, then picks the Speaker of the House. But it's just unheard of, 95. So the guy was so weak, and he's so weak also. He depends on these crazy lunatics that are just stupid. I mean, unbelievably stupid. And it's kind of hard to, you know, where do you say, okay, they're more stupid than Trump, or Trump is more, you know, you can't, this stupidity is so bad. You can't, I don't think you can rank it, you know. See, DeSantis, the governor of Florida, he's trying to be the Republican nominee. I don't think he's going to make it. I don't think he's stupid. I don't know. It's hard on the political thing. It's on the politics or whatever. It's, you can't measure, you know, like intelligence and all this kind of stuff over here, and then measure, like, you know, in the political situation, because so many of those people are big-time liars. I don't think most of them are. I think a lot of them are smart, but they will lie. They'll say anything. You know, they'll undermine their intelligence, because they'll say anything if they think that's going to get them, if it's the Republicans, if they think that's going to keep them in good standing with the Trump supporters. I think a whole bunch of them, I mean, these people, I think they know, oh God, Trump is terrible, but they're afraid to even think it. They're afraid to even, you know. So, because Trump's got these supporters of his all locked up. I mean, you know, because they follow him, and of course he's losing them. You know, every day he's going to be losing them, and it looks like he may be, you know, put in handcuffs and be going into prison pretty damn quick, which he should for, you know, taking material out of the White House. Actually, whether it is, you know, security matter or not, taking stuff from the White House, there's a protocol and understanding and rules and regulations and laws that, you know, how you handle things. Not even counting all the top secret type of things that he just totally violates and says he can, you know, declassify them just by thought. You know, you kind of wondered, is Trump trying to stay out of jail by getting some type of a thing where he's mentally ill? I don't know. He's that stupid. But because he said, you know, well, he's never made any attempt to learn anything at all. And apparently when people around him who are smart, who were smart, although he picked terrible people, you know, all the things he said, you know, that he was, if he was elected, he would pick the best people. No, all those people he picked, some of them may have been smart, but they were not the best people. They were the worst people. You know, the best people would be like, you know, say you get hired. Now, of course, why would you want to be hired by him or have anything to do with him? But if you did, you know, if you thought you were going to be Secretary of State or Secretary of Defense or, you know, head of the Justice Department, whatever you thought, he's going, you know, and you know your area, you've worked in it with other administrations, everything else, and you say, but Mr. Trump, now you can't do, and he just totally ignores you, then the thing you do is just say goodbye and just walk out the door, you know. And you just, of course, I'm sure the Secret Service would want to personally take all your stuff from, you know, your IDs and all that kind of stuff, but might be more dramatic just to take and throw them on the floor. And then when the Secret Service said, we have to have your, say it's laying on the floor there at, that orange-headed, idiot's feet. I don't understand why people would work for him or anything like that. But then I never had a job where I made a ton of money. All the jobs I worked at, if you were the boss or the director of security, or no matter what you were, or hospital administrator, I'd just say you're wrong, and whatever, and that's the way it was. But what if I was making, I don't know, $250,000 a year, a car provided, maybe somebody to drive me, and would I have been different? I don't think I would have, but maybe I would. Maybe I would have been. I don't know. I guess, one thing, like lawyers, I bet you, and I've talked about that, I did in the past. I'm not sure it was on YouTube, but when I was doing my other stuff, WordPress, newsletters, and all that kind of stuff. I talked about that, I think. That, I just don't understand. But I never had a job like that. And I have talked about in the past on my YouTube videos that for young people nowadays coming up, it's got to be really, really rough. Everything is, sort of against you. I went to Catholic schools, Catholic high school, military academy. Academy meaning that that's different than it's ROTC, but it's different. It's like a step up or whatever from ROTC or whatever. Reserve Officer Training Course. The junior thing is in high school, and then they have a senior program, ROTC, I believe. I might be wrong on all this, and I think that's 3 years in college. But I don't. Okay, I wanted to go into the military. That was my desire. I wanted to spend 20 years in there. I've had several people, but especially I remember my son-in-law when I spent 2 weeks in New York and Washington, D.C. there. He asked me, I mentioned this before, Jim, what in the world made you want to go into the military? You wouldn't have done well in the military at all with your, rejecting of authority and that type, and, independent and that kind of stuff. And I said, well, I didn't know, even though I guess I read while I was in high school every government printing office thing on military that there was. Arctic survival, jungle survival, squad formations. I read all that stuff. I knew all that stuff. But I guess there wasn't anything in there that said, if you go into the military, you have to, I knew about marching and, disassembling an M1 rifle and reassembling, all that kind of, I knew all that stuff. But, yeah. But, anyway, when I couldn't get in the military, mother and dad, but, mainly I think my dad, who, by the way, and I've mentioned this, nobody has ever answered my question. Am I the only person in the world that, called their mother and father by their names, Jim and Betty? But I can understand why, because I was a little kid, and that was their names. And I guess they never said, oh, call me Dada, or call me Mama or something. I guess they never did that. I don't know. But anyway, my father, a book I've mentioned this before numerous times, How to Make $1 Million in Real Estate. And everybody was reading that book, and my father read that book and wanted me to go to real estate school. And I didn't want to go to real estate school. I actually wanted to go into electronics, which was at that time you'd go into radio TV repair. And then those people with time, if they were still alive, then they were in, electronic engineers and that kind of stuff. But anyway, my father said he'd pay for me to go to real estate school. I went to real estate school, took the final test, which was the same as the state test that I would have had to take at Jefferson City. I didn't want to be a real estate person. And so then my dad paid for me to go to welding school. And then after that I came back. I was one hell of a welder. And you're not supposed to brag like that, I guess. But the thing is, at that time, back in the early 50s or whatever, there was a big need for welders, and the pay was pretty good. But an awful lot of those people who were welders working, building, well, everything, I worked building railroad cars, gigantic trucks, massive trucks, dark trucks, that we made them and then we had to disassemble them and number them so they could be reassembled by our people when they arrived in South Africa and went down in the caves or whatever, But I built other kind of trucks for the different companies that I worked for. So I lucked out. I was never without a job, and then later on, I've had 2 jobs, and the wife and I, she had just when I met her, she had started a tropical fish shop up, and so we got married. Eventually, I ended up then quitting the welding job that paid so well, Dark Truck Company, a division of Kenworth trucks. Except we could have fit, I don't know, half a dozen of those Kenworth trucks in the back of the trucks that we built. So then, a lot of other stuff going on. But then I spent 30 years working in hospital security at various hospitals. In the beginning, the pay wasn't, well, except for the first hospital, a Catholic hospital. The nuns did not want to pay. They didn't want security, but they had to have security because I was talking to Fort Worth PD asked me to help out a little bit back several years ago. So I was doing a little presentation about it, and to the officers, and I was talking about the rioting that took place, and there was a young guy, really nice young police officer. He wasn't in the academy; he was already a patrol officer. In fact, he was a supervisor of accident investigation. But anyway, so we were pretending that, I said, hey, just pretend that, you're interviewing me or something on a YouTube video or something like that. So he did, and I answered. So I said, about the rioting or whatever, and he was like, what rioting? When was that? And then I gave him the date. And he said, where? And I said, across the United States, including Kansas City, Missouri, And then it was something else like that, because that just showed, the difference in times and ages, I told the guys that I was working with, they were excellent. One was a detective in internal affairs, and the other was, forget the exact title, both were officers. Both had been in the Marine Corps. Both went to college when they got out of the Marine Corps. And both were really good. And, let's see. I got sidetracked because I was going to say something. Oh, anyway, they asked me to talk to this group that was interested. Oh, yeah. to anybody who was interested, and the chief of police had approved all this. Any of the officers who wanted to make YouTube videos or any other thing, anything the idea was I was helping them, not much help, but I was trying to help them. And at least I wasn't like some people in, Trump's world or the outside, where at least I told these guys, I don't think I'm complicated, I don't think I'm qualified for it. Oh yeah, you'll do fine. Anyway, I told those guys, I said, and who else was it? I said, okay, these officers out there that are patrolling and whatever their duties are that they're doing, when they get off duty, they're not going to, they're not going to want to make a YouTube video. They're not going to want to, I went through several things, they're not going to want to do that. They're going to come home and they either want to watch sports, watch porn. I went through a list of a few things, They're going to want to do that. They're not going to want to do it. And, but there's one guy that I told you about that was accident investigation officer. He made one hell of a video immediately. And it proved me wrong. Of course, he's the only one that did it. But it took off and went viral. And Canada, the police department, I don't know which one, the police department up in Canada, asked him to please, they would pay him to come up to Canada, like all expenses, that kind of stuff, and to talk to their officers and stuff like that. So he proved me wrong. But it turned out I don't think that anybody really did much. And the chief of police had approved them to do that, and he also said that they could go home or wherever they needed to go and be paid, extra money, which I'm sure would be also time and a half for doing that. But I was right in that, the guy, works hard under a lot of stress, all kinds of stuff going on. He doesn't want to go home. And now I could see firemen. I mean, they work under stress and in danger and everything. They're probably in more danger. Hopefully not in the danger of being shot as much, but so far as injuries and that type of stuff, and paramedics and stuff. But I think they would, because I've seen videos made, like from fire stations, where they're showing how they do things and all that kind of stuff. So, of course, they were there, so naturally they're going to be paid. But I just don't see police officers doing it so much. But this one guy, man, he made a fantastic, video. By the way, I'm sure nobody's watching, that's interested in this, and of course it's not just Fort Worth, but police departments. But the Fort Worth Police Department looks to me like, from what I saw hanging around with them, and they took me around everywhere. It looks like the pay when you go to the academy is nice and long, much longer than what I went to. And you're paid, I think you're paid the right of way, if I remember correctly. You're making police officer salary as soon as you hire in, not some lower pay. And then and then I ask a whole bunch of questions of these guys. Okay, now when you graduate from the academy, do they put you on the midnight shift, the worst shift, and with probably the guys that are the most officers that are most pissed off, that are not going to be, they're not going to be telling you, okay, you need to treat all these people, with respect. And, the officers didn't know when they, that I was working with, when they come out, some will go to the midnight shift, some will go to the evening shift, some will go to the day shift, some will go over here, go here, that kind of stuff. Everything I asked him sounded good. And I did go to the police academy and hung out a little bit outside of it, and that kind of stuff. And then the other thing was, what was the other thing? Oh, now the other thing I asked, I've seen, mentally ill people up close for 30 years, had to deal with them and everything. I got some people in my family, that you might have to be dealing with. And I said, are they getting training? Oh yeah, they're getting training. And I said, I don't think they get enough. I don't know how much they get, but I don't think they're getting enough. They need a lot, because when you come out, that's what you run into a lot. And he didn't agree with me. He didn't agree with me a few times, I think, and I think his thing was, he was real nice, by the way. I respect him very much, and both of those guys. But I think his attitude was, this guy doesn't know, that much about it. And of course, I didn't know that much. I didn't see their, their study material or anything like that. But, yeah, I mean, and I'm sure they, like if you're a police officer, you go through this, shoot, no shoot program, and you go through all these things of training. And probably when you come out, especially depending on what area you're assigned to or whatever, and what shift you're on, you're going to come out and you're going to be spending a hell of a lot of time responding on shoplifters, because stores have loss prevention officers and people there. So, I mean, it really would be interesting to I'm not qualified for it I couldn't look over their material and say, okay, you need to spend, 40 hours on this, and, you can spend 20 hours on this or something. I wouldn't be qualified for that. But I'm sure they have people that are qualified for that and they should work, and maybe they have. But, let's see, 37 minutes. I'm kind of tired. I'd like to fix both of these things. I don't want to. I messed with OBS a little bit. I do not like OBS. I know most of you who are watching this, if you're, that's because you've told me, a whole bunch have said, Jim, don't use Manicam. Well, you might have said you might not have said don't use Manicam, but you might have said you need to be using OBS. I don't like it. So I got cookies here. Well, their cookies aren't getting cold, but my Coke is getting hot. So thanks very much for watching, and please give a thumb up. Please subscribe, and I'll be seeing you in the next video.